Press freedom, usually celebrated May 3rd, is a date that celebrates the fundamental principles of press freedom, to evaluate press freedom around the world, to defend the media from attacks on their independence, and to pay tribute to journalists who have lost their lives in the exercise of their professions. This year, Nigeria moved up in the 2018 World Press Freedom Index, but there are concerns about the growing difficulties Nigerian journalists encounter when covering subjects with national security ramifications. That's according to a global report that came forth. The ISF report in 2002 measures the level of media freedom in 180 countries, including the level of pluralism, media independence, respect for safety, and the freedom of journalists. Okay, so it's believed that in Nigeria, covering stories or news events that involve politics, terrorism, and financial embezzlement by the powerful, it's very difficult. Journalists are threatened
and dangerous,
subjected to physical violence, or denied access to information by government officials, police, and sometimes the public itself. I mean, you want to cover a story, someone tells you, guy, you have to settle before you can tell this story. You'll be able to wonder, the story is for your own good.
And they don't disclose in spite of the FOI.
No, they don't. But hey, it's not Alera and I. We have some people in the studio that will help us look at this matter. Kazim Akinreti is the chairman, NEJ Lagos. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Nice to be here. And
from our Abuja studio, we have a press freedom advocate, Peter Nkanga. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I hope I pronounced your name well. Is it Nkanga or Nkaga?
Nkanga.
Okay, Peter, I got that well. Thank you very much. Oh, let me just start with you. The introduction I put out there, some will say that's painting a very bleak picture of the media environment in Nigeria, and that means journalists have no hope. Would you agree with that?
Truthfully, I would say that you are right in the sense that the situation of press freedom, of journalist rights in Nigeria right now is at an all-time low, according to my own work investigating press freedom attacks over the past 5 years. But there is hope. There is hope because where there is unity of force, there is also unity of action. So it's about bridging that gap between where we are sleeping steadily to and knowing that, and then fighting to say, no, we will not go back to the days that we have witnessed in military times and also in present times under the framework of dispensation.
Okay. Mr. Akinreti, the 3rd of May, we celebrate journalists globally, and here in Nigeria, he said that introduction we put out there is correct. But is it really true? How did we get to this point where we no longer seek to protect these ones who are supposed to be telling the truth?
Well, journalists are supposed to be telling the truth, but that is basically part of the code of conduct of the NUJ. But then, you know, truth is a little bit relative, and perhaps even telling the truth, how fair are you in telling the truth? But the key factor is that we are trained to always present the facts as they are, but people can make comments differently, you know, according to for facts that are available to them. But in saying that, you know, I always said one thing: the state of journalism, the welfare of journalists is extremely key, and its safety is key to how far it's going to tell you the truth. So if he believes that, probably, you know, it's an agenda, probably he's not going to tell you that truth that you're looking for. He's not sure of his next meal. And the state of the media in Nigeria now, you know, it is appalling. Journalists are not well paid, you know, their rights are being denied. And of course, you see, they're just marking the time. But despite the difficulties, the best professionals I've seen are journalists. They still hold their allegiance, ensuring that the need to make the public, to give the public the right to know, is still there. That obligation is still there, and they're still doing it, frankly. So it's for you to decide, are they saying the truth or not saying the truth? So you could be objective, it also could be subjective. The reality of ground is that A journalist is trained to say the truth and nothing but the truth.
Mr. Akinreti, the journalist today doesn't seem to get the respect that he used to get. And some people say that it's because some of them do not give the correct, well, talking about the truth, they do not tell the absolute truth, because these days a lot of them are compromised. What's your comment on that?
Well, the issue of compromise is also relative. You know, everything, because as a practicing journalist, I like to put things in context. What we are saying, the truth to our own side, the way we present the truth, the facts to you, you might disagree with us. But based on the facts I built to her, these are the issues on ground. Are we being fair in also contacting to ensure that, yes, we're able to establish that it is the fact? So it's up to you to accept it or not. For us, that's what we are trained for, and we're going to give you what we have. But I'm telling you that there are so many things that also affect the practice today, which the key among them, welfare of journalists and safety of journalists. The society doesn't care about these two things about journalists. And they also expect the best from the journalist. Even though he's part of society, he has a right to live. He has a right to life. And so that's exactly the issues we are facing today. And that's a union leader. I won't be sitting there pussyfooting and say that all is well. All is not well with the media in Nigeria. Honestly, the media industry is engendered today. That's crisis right there, honestly.
Not endangering the media industry.
No, it is the society
itself. It's a threat from within or from outside?
Threat from within. The society itself does not. That's why I say we're not really being respected.
Threat from within the industry itself.
No. Within the industry itself, one. Also, without the society does not even appreciate what the journalist is doing for them. You go all through, the means, you sift through information, and then you come out to tell them these are the facts as we have. But it's obvious it's for you to not believe it or not, and that's why we believe integrity of a journalist is extremely important. Despite all these challenges, you owe it as a duty, if you are signed on to be a journalist, to say truth all the time. If you know you are not ready to do that, well, there's no point. Get out of the kitchen.
Mr. Nkanya, how free would you say that the Nigerian press is? We know that in this sub-region, the Nigerian press is regarded as the freest of them all. But really, strictly speaking, are we really a free press?
Well, you talk of free press in terms of accessibility, pluralism. All right.
Thank you for the question, and I will answer it with the truth that I believe, and the truth will set us free. Nigeria might be considered as one of the freest press, has one of the freest press climates or environments across West Africa, and probably in Africa. It might be a consideration. But if we look down to the facts of the matter, you realize that we are not. And when I say the facts of the matter, I look at it in the concept of what does Nigeria stand to gain from being the leader of Africa in terms of human rights abuses, in terms of violations of press attacks, in terms of impunity whereby journalists are killed for reporting on issues of common interest to the Nigerian people, and the impunity is so blatant that a lot of times those who are perpetrators of these attacks are the state actors. Like the NUJ chairman rightly said, two things are the priority, should be the priority of the media in Nigeria, which is welfare, which is key, but also safety. And over the years, since leaving the military dispensation to civil rule in 1999, all the way for the past 16 years under the PDP and now under the APC, have we seen any improvement? I dare say no. There have been journalists killed, and a lot of times we even have suspects, but nothing happens to them. I've investigated cases, and for me, I keep telling people who care to listen, to actually drive home the point of how unsafe the press is in Nigeria. I can just give two illustrations, two examples that state exactly the whole length of breadth of how this country is when it comes to press freedom. The case of Yomi John Olomofe, whom the NUJ chairman there in Lagos will know about, since June 25th, 2015, was viciously assaulted within the premises of the Nigerian Customs Service at the Nigeria's foremost border across West Africa's border. He was assaulted because he was invited by the customs officials over an inquiry into the investigation of complicity of customs officials in smuggling. He was invited with another journalist. came to answer the invitation of the customs, and within the premises, they were assaulted black and blue to the point of almost losing his life. And 3 years down the line, the man has been seeking for justice. What has happened? The police, with complicity of the customs and the hierarchy of the presidency, have refused to give Yomi Olomofe justice. And I say this because the people who did this to Yomi Olomofe have been identified. Let's get it straight. Yomi would not have gone to custom premises if the custom didn't invite him. And what was he invited for? To answer questions on complicity of custom in smuggling of arms and ammunition, smuggling of contrabands, smuggling of fake pharmaceuticals, smuggling of trafficking of persons, all the ill and wrongs of the country of going on in the sub-region. That is what the journalist was investigating. For who? For the public. They were not doing it for themselves. They wanted the public to know the truth about what is going on in their countries. And the people who assaulted Yomi have been identified by name, by face, and by location as people who have been bringing in smuggling things into this country, including arms and ammunition. We ask ourselves about insecurity in the land. We have Boko Haram, we have militancy, we have all sorts of criminalities, even the arm robber on the street who carries arms and kills anyone. You might think it's not coming home to you because you're not a journalist, but don't forget that those arms and ammunition are being brought in by people. Have you asked yourself where these arms are coming from? This is the journalist who investigated this, and as a result of his investigation, he was brutally assaulted. The people who did this are known by the hierarchy of the police. I presented this case to Solomon Arasta, the former IG, personally. This case has been presented to the present IG, Ibrahim Idris, and nothing has been done. Instead, Yomi Olofe has become the suspect in their own case that he was the complainant. The people who assaulted him counter-petitioned the police under this new dispensation, and now Yomi Olofe is the suspect. The IUJ chairman is there that can confirm this case. That is one case. Another second case that for me is emblematic of how far below we have gone when it comes to press freedom, especially in this dispensation, is the case of Jones Abiri, a publisher in Bayelsa State. Since July 21st, 2016, we are going to be clocking 2 years. That journalist has not been seen. He has not been heard of. His family have not seen him. He has no contact with his lawyers or medical attention. Since 2 years, the SSS have him in custody. How do we know? The SSS carried out a raid in his office in Bayelsa State. And 2 days after, the SSS released a statement saying that Jones Abiri confessed to being a militant and that they will charge him to court. 2 years down the line, nothing has happened. He has not been charged to court, and his whereabouts are unknown. And we talk about press freedom. These are the issues that we bring out that people need to understand. It's not about the journalist. It's about the issues of which are behind what the journalist was investigating.